Hey guys, Derek here. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome for the first time if you are new. We are back to watch another episode of Severance. This is season 1, episode 4. This one is called The You Are. Last time we visited the Kier museum, essentially, and we learned all about the founders of the company and their history, and there's the Wall of Smiles and the recreation of the house in there, and just lots of things going on, lots of weird Scientology vibes, but we are having a good time watching it, and I'm excited to see more. So before we jump into this, if you end up enjoying my reaction, please leave a like on the video. It means a lot to me. If you're new here or you find yourself coming back often, hit subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified when I upload. And then if you want to see the full uncut version of this reaction, consider supporting me on Patreon or joining YouTube memberships. You just sync up your own copy of the show and you can watch along with me. I also post reactions to Severance slightly early on Patreon, so if you're interested in getting next episode earlier than everyone else on YouTube, consider checking it out. But other than that, let's jump into episode 4 of Severance. Following contains a depiction of self-harm. That's no bueno.
I'm afraid you still don't mean it.
Milchek, do you want to fight? She's been in there at least 2 hours past closing.
We'll try again in the morning.
Bro. She's gonna get in that elevator and immediately go back to being tortured. Hey, Milchek, you kind of got a wagon back there, brother.
See you tomorrow, Helly.
See you in approximately 6 seconds. Yeah, that's the...
Fuck me.
Exactly.
What the hell is that voice?
This is some psychological torture.
And only in beach till there's they live on.
I think she means it this time.
I really am sorry, okay? I'm sorry.
No paraphrasing.
Come on now. Getting these phrases ingrained into her brain. Yeah, who's calling that number? A blocked number? Their workplace kind of reminds me of the Apple Park, the giant circle sphere thing.
I wonder if, as department chief, you feel you should check on her progress?
Well, Mark doesn't have that power.
Well, he can ask.
He's not going to.
He might.
Yeah,
Okay.
what?
Hi.
Devin stays strapped.
We met the other day. I'm Bert from Optics and Design. Hi, Irving. Hi, Bert. What are you doing
Exactly
here?
how the wet fuck do you know where this
Dylan,
office
How
is?
the wet fuck?
What can we do for you, Bert?
Thank you. Well, you brought pre-release handbook totes for us. Seemed like the right thing.
Well, he's got a crush on you, so...
Okay, well, you can drop him on the desk. Long hike back to O&D.
Right. I also wanted to extend an invitation.
You're an op for life.
If an informal tour of O&D ever sounds refreshing, I'd be happy to personally offer that to Irving and any one of you. Directions are in the front bag, reversed.
Hard pass.
Yeah. hates you.
Thank you.
A nice little whisper. God, he wants him so bad.
Kia's whole original vision saw us all working together.
That was before O&D started disemboweling people's bowels.
Nonsense. I'll be back by 1.
Disemboweling people's bowels.
Irv,
Helly.
how many times?
647.
1072.
1072? Mark read it 1,000,000 times.
What about the voice behind the door?
Crying baby, you mean?
No. Like the angry, mumbly guy.
You know, the important thing is you apologize correctly. Now you're out.
What you gotta do is trick the machine by thinking about something you're really sorry about. So, I like to imagine my Audi's love maid with a MILF or two, which is obviously badass, but I do pity the husbands.
That will work, yeah.
Oh, hi. It's Irving B. from Macro Data Refinement. We met in the hall the other day.
Bert's over there by shelf 6.
She's like, I know you're not here for me.
It's so dumb. But I actually cried when you guys put up the youthful convalescence of Kia. No, I did. I never thought I'd see the handbook passage depicted visually. Only up for a month or so. But man, what a month.
He's such a weirdo.
Come here. Once the whole art's been cycled through all the departments, it ends up back here.
Wow.
He has it in this drawer. You can see it again.
Let not weakness live in your veins. Cherished workers, drown it inside you.
Rise up from your deathbed and sally forth, more perfect for the struggle.
Okay.
I can't believe you. You have this.
Kiss.
I'm sorry. Wait. What time is it? I have to go.
I have to go. Next time. They're gonna smooch next time.
Hey, Helly.
I got to 4%.
Yes. Feels good, right?
No. What did he just notice? An outside book. Read it. It's free literature.
What's this?
Will you put that away?
But what do I?
It's a map of the hallways.
No, it isn't.
I thought we weren't supposed to make maps.
We're not. I didn't.
He didn't make it. Petey made it.
It's got wellness, management, perpetuity, everywhere we know of. This must have taken him weeks.
Why aren't we supposed to map the office?
It's an
Because
Egan rule.
too much
rendering
information
operation in miniature.
allows you to rise up.
What the fuck is this?
They look like houses, right? That's how houses look.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly he was trying to tell you something.
No.
Go lick a boot, Mark.
Go lick a boot.
You're more loyal to this place than to your friend.
Yeah, you bootlicker.
Work is bullshit.
The work is
Yeah.
mysterious and important.
I don't know about important. It's definitely mysterious, though. Don't shred it.
You're right. I don't give a shit.
Mark,
There, it's gone.
You rat fuck.
Thank you, Helly. Now we can get back to work.
Petey made that.
Mark,
Bet you regret that.
it's an emergency.
It's just raining contraband today.
What do you mean?
It doesn't matter.
It's raining. Contraband. Book club.
What are you doing?
His ego's pissed because Helly called him out for bootlegging.
My ego's fine. I'm just trying to...
Damn.
Mark, what is this?
Maybe it's another Petey message. Flip through, see if my name's anywhere.
Remember the spicy candy?
I'll be turning this into
There was
milk.
spicy
What?
candy.
Why? It's booty. It's booty with your name on it.
Excellent decision, Mark. This is an idolatrous text that should be brought to him immediately.
I love that Irv is like so, to the line, do what you're told, and Devin is like, fight the system. Do you guys have tape? Can she piece that back together? Girl.
So what's their space like? Stalactite?
Girl, don't do that.
Excuse me, Helly.
Jesus, Helly!
Oh
I'm on
no,
a camera.
don't do
I
that.
am so sorry, Miss Cobell.
You're going to give me a video camera so I can tape a resignation to my Audi right fucking now. Or you're going to have to explain to her why she's missing 4 fingers.
Okay, let's just...
Cabell, do I look like I'm fucking around right now?
Is this company advanced enough to reattach your fingers? Gonna get a note the next day. Resignation was denied. Let's see if it will let her.
Well, boss, guess this is the part where I should tell you to go to hell.
But you're already here.
Except you're already here.
I wrote this show.
I was never sorry.
It's gonna shut and just reopen. Because her Audi says, "F that." She filmed one for you. Where she says, "Kick rocks, you're working here forever."
I watched your video asking that I resign. Miss Cobell says you threatened to cut off your fingers. I understand that you're unhappy with the life that you've been given. But you know what? Eventually we all have to accept reality. So,
You are a slave forever.
I am a person. You are not. I make the decisions. You do not. And if you ever do anything to my fingers, know that I will keep you alive long enough to horribly regret that. The
Damn.
resignation request is denied. Turn it off.
What a bitch. That video does lend some credence to my Helly is someone important theory. Because she was very assertive. She kind of spoke like a company person. And then at the end when she told someone to turn it off, it was very authoritative. Petey died. You can hear it vibrating from up here. It's calling to you, Mark. How much battery does this thing have?
It wasn't your fault, Harmony.
If you want a hug, go to hell and find your mother.
Damn.
We have to get his chip.
His corpse is scheduled to be destroyed by cremation following his funeral on Sunday. FYI.
So get the chip before then.
Cheer. Humility. Benevolence. Nimbleness. Probity.
Okay.
What?
Wow's it is. She's here too.
Mrs. Silver?
What are you doing here?
I'm sorry I don't know you. I'm Nina.
Mark.
What's up, Nina? You're hot.
You're from Lumen,
How do you know?
so you didn't even know him at all.
Well, I just figured I'd know him.
Hey, Ma.
And
They want to start.
Okay, baby.
hi, you're. Are you June?
Yeah.
He talked
Nice
about
to
you
meet you.
being good at sports. Or guitar. One of the two. I think might have been guitar.
So you knew my dad?
Yeah.
He saw him die.
Oh, you're one of those. Do you ever think that maybe the best way to deal with a fucked up situation in your life isn't to just shut your brain off half the time?
I'm not exactly sure.
Is that... Did he start working after the divorce, or did they divorce because he started working there? Back to Never Never Land.
We're off to Never Never Land. Something's wrong. Shut the light. Heavy thoughts tonight.
She about to get to work. Damn, girl, you just drilling in there.
Under your bed, in your closet, in your head.
This is a very poignant song. God damn, just getting in there.
No!
Off to Never Never Land.
Mark, sweetheart, are you all right? I'm so sorry.
The timing. We're just going for a drive in general. Is this where your wife died? Was it a car accident? Did we know it was a car accident? I feel like he told Petey that. This must be where she died. You gotta deal with it though.
That's Petey.
That's Petey.
How did you?
Would you mind taking that up to
Brute
diagnostics
force.
for me?
You requested me, Miss Cobell?
Miss Casey, I'd like you to run a special wellness session with Mark S.
Mark S. What's the problem?
He just needs it. Trust me.
He does need it, but... Fancy meeting you here.
I have 4 more stops.
Would you like to walk with him?
Would MDR consider joining me?
MDR would.
It's like a date.
Wish I could nap. I think I sleep 15 hours a night up there.
It's a character flaw.
Just means you're a party guy, Disco King.
I can't be falling asleep, Bert.
Who cares?
The handbook cares.
Who cares?
I'm more of a first edition guy. And I shall whisper to ye, dutiful through the ages. In your noblest thoughts and epiphanies shall be my voice. You are my mouth. And through ye, I will whisper on when I am 10 centuries demised.
Okay, freaky.
I don't understand.
He doesn't just speak to us through the handbook, the paintings. He finds other ways.
In your dreams.
You think you need your job, but I've lived abroad as a vagrant. Your job needs you,
Facts.
not the other way around.
Safe travels. No deal.
He's gonna think that he's like a prophet.
Mark?
Howdy.
I'm gonna go.
Do it.
What is she gonna do? Is she gonna try and hang herself, or I don't know if that is long enough to do that. Hey, that's
Sometimes I ask people to sculpt how they feel.
That's
out
the
of
candle
clay.
from his basement. Is she gonna try and like hang herself in the elevator?
An acrostic poem experienced by the author Rick and Hale. D is for dreaming, the start of it all. E is for energy.
So they can't bring written notes into this elevator, but she can attempt suicide in it, and they won't stop her?
Of home and of earth. T is for terror, which gives us more worth.
O&D is not a two-person operation.
I is for eyes, which observe us with love. And why?
Interesting.
That's a
He's
question
making
we
a
need to
tree.
now ponder. For destiny, friends, shall
And he just
deliver
visited a
all
tree
yonder.
in real life. So the subconscious is bleeding through. Cool. Hey, yo. Come on now. Dang. What a cliffhanger. This episode is a lot. That was intense. I feel like every aspect of this episode felt important or heavy. There were different revelations that happened, different kind of like emotional epiphanies, very bold, drastic actions taken, and potential disaster for Lumen via Rickon's book. Like, who knew this man was gonna end up being like a prophet to these people? Okay, so let's go through each character individually and just kind of like discuss how things changed for them in this episode. Devin, he had the least change and was the least important, but like still, he's so funny. I love him with all my heart. Like, as soon as Optics and Design walks in as soon as Bert walks in, grabs the stapler, and he's like, how the wet fuck did you find your way over here? And it's like, he just hates this man, like, with a passion. And it's interesting, because I find him and Irv's dynamic very interesting, because, like, on the surface, Irv is, like, the one that's most dedicated towards all this. But his revelation might lead to some doubt from him. Meanwhile, Devin, on the outside of things, seems like he takes things the least seriously. But anytime, like, Optics and Design come up, he is, like, gung-ho, like, ready to fight them. Because, like, in, like, subconsciously or, like, whatever, he, like, truly deeply believes about, like, the different, like, measures of how they were crafted or whatever. Like, Optics and Design is Slytherin, well, we're Gryffindor or whatever. Like, he plays it off as, or at least it's played off as just, like, lighthearted, funny moments. But I can maybe see, like, deep down, Devin being the one that has, like, the actual most devotion to the company in the long run. But I'm not 100% sure. Who else had big moments? Let's talk Irv. Irv potentially had a drastic moment for his character, right? So he has a crush on Bert, and Bert comes to visit and is like, hey, I can show you around Optics and Design if you want. Like, you can see everything. And he goes and he gives him a little mini tour, shows him his favorite painting, and they're just loving it. And Irv's asking questions. He's like, man, how do you two get by? And he's like, oh, we do just fine. And the whole time, like, anytime Optics and Design is brought up, they are referenced as, like, a two-person operation. That's what Irv believes, that's what he's being told, all this. And he's starting to feel pretty close to Bert. He likes him a lot. And he wants, I don't know what he was planning on doing, like going to check up on him. Maybe he wanted to flirt more or something. But he goes, it's interesting, because Bert's the one that's like, they have a whole interesting conversation. Where Irv is like, by the book, for the book, I'm a company man type guy. And Bert is like, I prefer the original text. Like, he's quoting, like, Old Testament stuff to him. And it's like, it's just very curious. And then he goes to visit him and he hears some machines working, and he like peeks inside that door, and there's a whole bunch of people in there. Like, a whole lot of people, and I don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna have to, like, pause it and rewatch just to, like, see what he saw. But there's a whole lot of people, and if there's that many people in Optics and Design, that means, they're being lied to. And, I mean, we as viewers just kind of assume that they're being lied to. But now, if, like, Irv is being confronted head on with the fact that, like, the company he is so devoted to is lying to him about what is going on, like, that could potentially be like a seed of doubt that could just fracture his devotion. And I'm very curious to see, like, where this moment leads for him, because, who knows? It could be dangerous. Mark. Let's talk about Mark. He had an interesting time. Right? Like, he picks up that phone that is like, he's wondering who the heck is calling this number. It's probably the people that dealt with the reintegration. And then he sees the news of Petey dying, and he decides he's going to go to the funeral. And his experience there was so interesting. Like, getting to meet Petey's family, and like the moments he had were so interesting. Like his ex-wife is like, you didn't really know him at all, and he, like, that's true in a sense. Like the version of him that's there didn't know him at all, other than like being with him in his final days, but he like still subconsciously feels this deeper connection to him. Like it's like it's bleeding across. Like I don't know how to fully explain it. Like the barrier that's there isn't as firm as I think Lumen would like to admit that it is, right? They don't want to acknowledge reintegration. They don't want to acknowledge that whatever they're doing isn't perfect. And yeah, he meets the family and he talks to the daughter where she's like, hey, do you ever think that like turning your brain off for 8 hours a day isn't a healthy way to deal with the crap you're going through? And it's like, yeah, like she's talking to him about, you know, probably from her personal experience. So Petey was probably dealing with something. Maybe Petey got divorced from his wife, and that's why he decided to sever. It's because he just couldn't really like deal with that anymore. Or maybe he severed because something happened, and then that's the reason they got divorced. Who knows? But like Mark is being confronted with the idea of like, you know, he has to deal with his trauma, and he has to deal with the loss of his wife, and he has to actually mourn. He can't just turn his brain off. But then the video that's playing at the funeral is Petey and his daughter playing Enter the Sandman, which like there's a lot of different things that like, so that song, you know, one of the key phrases, like we're off to Never Neverland, deals with like sleep and like all things surrounding that. What was it, episode 2, I think? Irv fell asleep and he had like that freaky ass dream, and I theorized like, you know, maybe that could be like a core piece to like undermining this chip in your brain, because like your sleep is so dependent on like memories and subconscious and things like that. You know, sleeping disrupts stuff, and that's in the book. It was like, don't sleep, don't nap. And Irv and Bert have a conversation about that during their little walk. And so them playing the song Enter the Sandman it just feels like they're drawing attention to the idea of sleep. And then again, like I mentioned, I don't remember which video I mentioned it in, but the opening, not the trailer, what's it called? The why can't I think of it? The opening theme or whatever, title sequence. That's the word I'm looking for. The end of the title sequence has both Innie and Outie Mark lying in a bed, and then they kind of like shift into one person. Does sleeping as an Innie, will that like naturally reintegrate you? or like what's going on there? I don't know. But yeah, Mark has a bit of a panic attack at this funeral, and he has to leave, and then he goes and drives to the spot of his wife's accident, I believe, and just kind of like touches the tree that she theoretically died at. You know, I don't know if it was that exact tree, or, you know, it's a tree at the scene. And then he's reading the book from Rickon, you know, recognizing like, you know, you don't need the job needs you, which is like, yeah, workers' rights, baby, hell yeah. But like that's gonna disrupt the way he's thinking, and he goes into this wellness thing, and first thing off the bat, they light the candle that Cobell stole from his basement. That's his wife's candle. And they ask him to like make a craft of like how he's feeling or something, and he makes a tree. And it's like that just shows like it's bleeding through. Like, his subconscious, like his Audi's subconscious is bleeding through. The grief that he carries for his wife is bleeding through, whether he recognizes it or not. And so I'm very curious, like, what that means. Why did they light the wife's? Were they intentionally trying to get him to think of his dead wife by lighting that candle? Like, was that intentional? Did they do that on purpose? Were they trying to elicit a specific response out of him in that? I don't know. Like, it's so weird. Like, I feel like this is all some big experiment. Like, they're just experimenting on these people. And I don't know what the end goal of this experiment is, but I feel like they're just test subjects. Because they do things to them that just don't make logical sense in the moment. They're just making them do stuff for no reason, seemingly. They're like, oh, that's another thing that I thought of, how I think this is like an experiment or like a test on them. The hallways that they walk down remind me of, like, you know, you've seen videos of like mice getting tested, of like which mouse can reach the cheese first. They always like set them like opposite stuff, and they have to like go through this maze, and like whichever rat gets through the maze better is like the good mouse that gets to live. Like, I feel like these people are literal rats in a maze doing scientific experiments. It's crazy. So I don't know why they took his candle and then made him think of his dead wife's tree. It's weird. Speaking of that funeral, Miss Cobell went and drilled into Petey's skull and got his chip back. Like, that lady's a psycho. Like, she is like, I'm getting that chip. She needs to study that chip to figure out like what the frick went wrong with it, and like why he was able to reintegrate but then also die because of it. Like, they got to figure out how to stop that. Essentially. She also like repeated a whole bunch of different words, like descriptive words, adjectives is the word I'm looking for. She recited a whole bunch of them and settled on wiles. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What does wiles mean? Wiles, devious or cunning stratagems employed in manipulating or persuading someone to do what one wants. That's like, so she's manipulated. Like, they're manipulating them to do things that they want. It's a literal science experiment. Like, it's just crazy. But yeah, she's got a picture of like probably the founding Kier, like it looked like 1800s picture. Like, maybe she's like obsessed with them. I don't know. Like, is she obsessed with the original vision, similar to Bert? Is she like an Old Testament fanatic? Like, I know she's a freak. Like, she's weird. So who knows? It's just crazy. But then probably the biggest, or at least most prominent that we're focusing on right now, thing was with Helly. She's determined to not work here anymore. She hates it here. She went into the break room on the first night and recited it 300 sometimes, and then by the end of them letting her out, she had recited it 1,000+ times. And it's just crazy because they stop after one day and they're like, see you tomorrow. And for her, she goes in and it just opens back up. She's in a different outfit, immediately back to torture. It's just like, dude, this is the worst. Like, this is some, like, this would be banned in The Hague. This would be considered like a war crime. Like, you would be a war criminal if you did this to like spies from another nation. Like, I don't know how they're allowed to do this. But yeah, she gets tortured, and then she sees that map that Mark has, and she's just like fed up about this whole situation because she desperately wants out. And she's seeing Mark have this, map, and he seemingly doesn't care. And he's just like, toe the line, like, follow the rules. And she's like, frick the rules, like, this sucks, I'm trying to get out of here. And she takes things to drastic measures. She decides, I'm going to film a video, or I'm going to cut my fingers off, and you have to explain to this person why their fingers are gone. And so they let her film it, and she seems so confident. She's like, yeah, I'm really confident this is going to work out for me. And she goes in the elevator and comes back, and everyone's still waiting for her. And her Audi filmed a video, and that moment where she's watching her Audi's video really solidified for me that, like, she's got to be someone important, right? Like, I theorized last video that she was the CEO, but that was wrong because I remembered that while editing that they showed the current CEO. So, adjustment of the theory. She is either the wife of the current CEO, or the daughter of the current CEO, or she's like someone on the board. Like, she's important because Milacek is like, it's wonderful what you're doing, coming down here, it's great. When we heard you were coming down here, everyone's so excited. So, like, the people that work there already knew who she was before she came down to Severance. And then, yeah, all this stuff at the last episode where they drew parallels to her and the original female CEO. But then, yeah, she films this video and essentially tells Helly, she's like, hey, I get that you like want to leave, but I'm a person and you're not. Like, I make the decisions, you just deal with it. And I don't know, her tone of voice there seemed like she was like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, the way she addressed her, it felt like, if you've ever worked at a job, it sounds stupid. If you've ever worked at a job and you've had a boss talk to you about anything, like whether it be a disciplinary thing, or like if you've ever seen videos, people like the people that post videos of themselves getting like fired over Zoom or something, and HR is talking to them, and it's like every single one of them has a specific tone of voice where they're just like, they're saying things in a professional structure, if that makes sense. Like, the way that outside Helly was talking to inside Helly felt simultaneously like she was talking to her as like an employee of this business. Like, it felt like she was talking to her as like a higher up, manager or like leader in the company speaking to like a subordinate, if that makes sense. And then but then she's like mean about it. She's like, also, if you do anything to my fingers, I will make sure you are in there long enough to regret that decision. Which also leads credence to the idea that she has power to make that a reality. Like, she'll just make sure that she's in there. Right? Like, I don't know. Essentially telling her, like, I'm never gonna quit. And she's just like mean. She's mean about it. She's just like a bitch to her She's so mean. But then when she like looks off camera and tells someone to turn it off, like, that, even just that 3 words, like, were said with like an air of like, I'm in charge, like, do it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking like way too far into that, but like, she's got to be someone important. Like, there's no way she's just a regular person that decided to work here. Like, there's something more about her whole thing. But then freaking Helly, she's like, she goes back to work and she's like, you know what? Screw this. She's like, if you're gonna be a bitch, like, you know, she's been presented with the idea of like, you quitting is essentially suicide to you. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna self-harm in a way that affects more than just me. And her response to that is not a great one. She just gets threatened. And so she's like, you know what? If my end goal is to end my life, theoretically, I might as well do it in a way that kills you too. Like, if you're gonna threaten me, I'm gonna take us both out. And she goes and takes the power cord, like the extension cord from her computer, and a trash can, and she's gonna hang herself in the elevator. And it's so interesting because theoretically, like, she's being told over the first 3 episodes that this company's like surveillance is so advanced that they can detect codes inside your body. Like, it just knows that you have written a code or done something, like, so don't even try it. But then when she goes to literally hang herself in the elevator, like, nothing's going off, like, no alarms, no one's coming to stop her. She is just able to do it with no intervention, which again leads me to believe like they're lying to them about the code thing. It's not real. And you know, Irv, he found out he's being lied to, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like there's just a lot that I feel like these employees are gonna revolt. Like, good luck keeping them contained. You know, how is, like, what is the retaliation gonna be for Helly's actions in this episode? Because I assume she's not gonna die, because she's like one of the top 2 main characters. But like, outside Helly was like, hey man, if you hurt my fingers, I'm gonna imprison you for life, and I'm gonna make sure it sucks. Like, what is her response gonna be when she literally tries to kill herself? Like, what? How do you, like, what do you do to her? Do you make her apologize again? Like, you send her to the break room? Or like, what happens? I don't know. I'm just very curious about, you know, just the next, like, every moment I'm watching the show, I'm just like, what is gonna happen? like they are not gonna meet their quarterly budgets. Like, it's just a lot, dude. Oh man, but this show's so interesting. Like, I'm really, really enjoying, like, even, like, obviously I'm having a lot of fun just kind of like theory crafting and trying to like figure out the ins and outs of everything that's going on. But even just like from a personal perspective, just following each of these characters' individual stories and journeys is like really interesting. Like, they are all interesting characters, which is exciting. Like that doesn't always happen in a show. Oftentimes there's characters that you just don't care about. You're like, whatever. Like, who gives a crap about their personal journey? Right? Like, let's focus on the characters I actually like. But I feel like all of the characters in this show are ones that are like, I'm interested to see where their personal development goes. And maybe that comes from the fact that like they all kind of started as like these baseline blank characters that were like every new piece of information that they receive is kind of like revolutionary to them. Like them finding a book in this episode when the only other literature they've ever known in their lives is the Kier Handbook. Like, even such a cheesy, dumb book that like isn't gonna sell any copies in the real world, to these characters is like mind-blowingly new information. So like I feel like having characters where they start at a baseline and literally everything that can happen has a much larger impact on who they would be as individuals than it would if the same things happened to them on the outside, if that makes sense. It makes their individual growth more exciting and interesting because it's just so much more drastic than it normally would be in a regular television show. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my brain, but my brain's dumb and weird, so who knows. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say about this one. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Very curious to see how you feel. Otherwise, if you enjoyed my reaction, please leave a like on the video. It means a lot to me. If you're new here, hit subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified when I upload. And then if you want to see the full uncut version of this reaction, consider supporting me on Patreon or joining YouTube memberships. You just sync up your own copy of the show and you can watch along with me. Again, next episode of Severance will be up early on Patreon as well. So if you're interested in checking that out, definitely consider supporting. Other than that though, I think that's all I gotta say. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.